I don't know any other word to use than a different year all the way around.
Yeah, but we were talking about this earlier, right? Although it's a unique circumstance and really challenging for these athletes, it's really, for some of them it might be good, right? The guys that maybe are challenged academically, right, at a tough institution like University of Virginia, not having to worry about cutting weight over Christmas break right before you take finals. It could be, really beneficial for some of these guys.
Well, and the physical toll, we talked about that it can take on your body. Normally, you've wrestled 18 to 20 matches at this point in the season. You have all those tournaments that are no longer taking place. So you have an opportunity for a sprint-type performance versus a marathon-type performance for some of these individuals this year.
Yeah, so we'll see who sprints to the finish line here. 5 matches down, 5 matches to go. Pittsburgh leads 9-7, and we've got a top 15 matchup here. Number 11, J.Wentzel, your defending ACC champion, taking on J.Keating, number 13 in the nation, and they're going up top here early, and we said it. Yep. J.Wentzel will throw the kitchen sink.
Quick two. What are going to be the early indications in your mind of where this one sits?
Really, I think it's going to be if J.Keating can keep the match close early in the bout, because J.Wentzel, just one of those guys, you see they go up upper body. Keating tries to step through, but he just got his hips out a little too far, and Wentzel able to cover. So quick up to his feet. Wentzel locks his hands, and he's really good on top here. He's probably going to look to throw that right side leg in, and he does.
It's a quick start for the All-American. You see the advantage, a couple of wrestlers very closely ranked in their respective classes. And finishing up just on some of the changes, there will be extra individual matches that will be wrestled when the day is done, when our broadcast portion is done today. You're going to see that a lot because of the condensed schedule. They want to get as many reps for as many different wrestlers as possible at each of these events. The extra year of eligibility is going to factor in as a result of the COVID issues. I mean, some of these coaches are going to be recruiting their 4th years, their seniors, to come back, stay with us another year, the same way they recruited them out of high school. There are so many extra wrinkles that are now a part of this athletic season, but the good news is it will end in St. Louis, fingers crossed, knock on wood for everyone, and it will end with a championship, which is much more than can be said for 2020.
Yeah, and you got to guess, Coach Garland guessed or really wishing that the guys from last year would have gotten that extra year of eligibility this year. We could have seen Jack Mueller go and
absolutely
be, try to get that national title, get that elusive national championship that the Cavaliers have been looking for. And before I keep rambling on about that, just want to apologize because I said J.Keating was from Pennsylvania, but he's actually from Illinois. And I know those Illinois folks don't want to say he's from. They don't want to.
They're not going to surrender him easily.
They're not going to give J.Keating up with the way he's been wrestling this year. So.
Well, there's one additional thing when you talk about in terms of national attention and states and everything else. The Olympics are happening this summer as well with the trials for the Olympics. I mean, that's another thing that's been put off that's going to be on the mind and on the radar and a focal point for a number of these premier wrestlers in the NCAA.
Yeah, you see several athletes who've already taken Olympic red shirts. You look at guys from University of Michigan, already has 2 wrestlers who have qualified for the Olympic Games for their respective nations. Miles Amin for San Marino and Stevan Micic, who has already qualified for Serbia. So, going to be exciting to see which other wrestlers and which college folks can take on the opportunity, take on the challenge of representing the United States of America in Tokyo 2021. So a 2-1 advantage for Wentzel.
Yeah, you think about all those challenges, the adversity that's been overcome. Some have taken that, turned it into a positive. I think one of the guys, most folks around the country would tell you that's done a nice job with that is Virginia head coach Steve Garland. You think about Christmas. I mean, there are pictures that exist of Steve Garland in the Christmas pajamas. He talked about taking something that most people view with pessimism and giving it a purpose. And that's just what he did with his athletes, who were in some ways stranded here on grounds instead of able to go home for Christmas with the protocols in place.
Well, you know, it's tough, right? As an NCAA athlete, not being able to go home and see your family, and a nice takedown for Wetzel at the end of the first period. And this is going to be big, finishing this period on top.
Boy, good, strong finish to the period for Wetzel.
So 2 seconds to go. We'll see if Keating can get out. But back to, you know, Coach Garland, you want to see your coach not only lead, but lead by example. And if he tells his athletes they can't go home for Christmas, you might as well, you know, bunker down and stay with them and be a true leader by example. And that's what Coach Garland is.
Well, there he is. Dad Elf, I think is what the shirt said. If you get a chance to look that up online. Instead of pictures and presents, it was practice and protocols. But I think it's safe to say that these coaches, these programs, they made the best of a difficult situation, and they've earned the right to compete, which they're doing in a very solid form here tonight.
Yeah, and
4-1, the advantage now goes to 5-1 for Wetzel as he tacks on another.
One of the things I'm seeing early in this bout, we're about 3.5 minutes into this, Wetzel is looking to force the upper body ties. And if you're Keating, you got to get your hips in and be able to wrestle there, because he's already gained the advantage twice, got 2 takedowns, and he's got a 4-point lead in the second period. So got to start closing this gap, getting to your ties, and starting to create leg attacks, because the upper body's not working for Keating so far. And he goes to throw that leg in with that 2-on-1, but Wetzel squares up. 2-on-1 again. Wetzel jacks that leg up, but Keating gets his foot to the mat. A nice Gadsden.
Look at the turn by Keating there.
Oh, he hit him with the Gadsden, and Wetzel rolled through, and he's now in on a shot of his own. So he takes a peek at the clock, notices he's got about a week to try to finish it in the center of the mat.
Quick turn of the tables.
Getting that foot up above his head. And the incredible balance of Keating here. Not finishing, got to make sure he doesn't hyperextend that knee as he...
And the timing, everything. As you said, plenty of time left in the second round for Wetzel to determine his approach. Now 15 seconds as they're on the edge of the circle. Keating trying to find a way.
And the balance of Keating is incredible. Just fought that shot off with his leg in the air for 45 seconds.
And for almost a minute, he was able to stay in that position.
So Wetzel is going to get this foot up eventually here as he goes through. Nice. Wow, he goes through and like hits that Gadsden. Kyvan Gadsden coined that one, won an NCAA title with that move, pinning Kyle Snyder, eventual Olympic champion. Great job by Keating, immediately up to his feet. Wetzel throws that boot in, but this is where Wetzel's really, really good. He's really stingy.
And took a moment in that round two that you just saw a moment ago in which it could have easily been 5-3 and held it at 5-1.
So looks like it could be near fall for Wetzel, but he's kind of got himself on his back and putting himself in a very peculiar situation. So reversal here for Keating. Now he's got that cross wrist. We'll see if he can get that to like a seatbelt position and start to score here. So
riding time having gone by the wayside already, as you saw. And within 2 is Keating.
So gonna cut him loose. And this is one of those positions where J.Wentzel is like the hardest dude in the world to wrestle, because he just is so, his wrestling IQ is through the roof. He knows where he needs to be in just about every match. So 5-3.
Safe to say he's a move or two ahead of you at most times.
Yeah, and not even just moves, 6-3, I apologize there, but not even just the move, just his IQ. He knows what it is, right? It's like those, we call them garbage time touchdowns in football. It's like J.Wentzel knows when he can give up garbage time takedowns. He's up by 3 points. A 2-point takedown isn't going to be the difference here. So if he's got to give up a takedown, he knows where he's got to be. And he's just one of those guys, you're down 3 points. It's just a bad situation.
Well, after Virginia pulled within 2 at 9-7, following the solid performance into the intermission by Justin McCoy, the 11th ranked wrestler in the 165-pound classification, J.Wentzel providing the answer for Pitt at the moment.
Oh no, that's going to be a huge, so a takedown, looking for near fall, and if that was 1 second more, it would have made it 12-3. Could have been close to a Ridington.
Ends up being a win by decision instead, and Pitt back in the win column, extending the advantage. And they're dual meet with UVA.